Hi there, and thanks for joining me for another Unmuted with Marsha. We had a Judiciary Committee hearing on AI last week, and we have heard from so many of you wanting to weigh in on this issue. And of course, in my questioning, I talked about the impact of this on our incredibly fabulous, top of the charts creative community that we have in Tennessee. And we thought a great guest to bring you some more information about how this is going to affect the music industry and what's really happening there would be Mitch Glazier. He is the chairman and CEO of the Recording Industry of America Association. And we thought getting his insight would be great and you would enjoy it. So, Mitch, happy to have you join us. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We had a great conversation with Sam Altman, who created ChatGPT and the Open AI concept. And I did get into some questions with him. I was surprised he didn't know about Napster. Didn't know that our creative community had kind of been around the bend on things like his jukebox. He wasn't familiar with Sound Exchange, but we've heard so much from musicians about they want to own their creations. So when it comes to AI generated content, and much of it is based off of an artist's work or it's done with voice cloning. Talk about who should own that and what should be the process to that ownership.
The artist and their partners should and do own their work. That's the entire constitutional premise that we've all fought for so long, is that this is the sweat of your brow. This is your genius. You get to own this. You get to create it. You get to decide who gets to use it and how. And when it comes to your voice and your image and your likeness, that's even almost a more personal right. That is somebody basically stealing your essence or putting your voice on a song that you never meant to record or that doesn't reflect your life experience. It could be putting it on something that you definitely wouldn't want to say. The ability of these AI platforms to produce what I would call fake music or inauthentic music at the rate that they do so, and then to steal an artist's voice to do it, it's almost like a double whammy.
Well, I think it is. And I think you're laying out the sequence of problems that exist from this because you have the taking of that image and likeness and sound. You have the replication of the works. As I said, I went into my Chat GPT account and said, write me a song that sounds like Garth Brooks. And they came up with a version of Simple Man. And that is not, they don't own that. So our songwriters and our musicians are looking at this, and then that leads to the problem of not being compensated. Am I correct on this?
That's exactly right. You can't, you have to be able to enforce your right, and you have to be able to decide whether or not you want it to be your work to be used in a certain way, and then you get to decide the compensation, just like any other person would be able to do for their work.
Yeah.
You either get to take the job or don't take the job, and it's up to you.
Well, and that's the way it ought to be. Now, what about the material, an artist's material that is used to train AI? Because in the hearing, he really didn't have an answer for me on that. So, what should the compensation be to the artist in that regard?
Well, the AI platform is taking an exact copy. Under law, we call it a reproduction, which means that a right's been violated and you deserve to be compensated for it. And they're taking a whole exact copy for purposes of training. They're putting it onto a computer server. It would be like somebody taking a book and sticking it on a Xerox machine. You are making that copy. And so in that case, you have an obligation to go and get a license for that use, just like YouTube gets a license, just like Spotify gets a license. There is a structure in the music industry to get licensed as a partner if the creator wants you to be able to use that work. And so it's really a negotiation, a partnership that should be done so both sides can thrive. You're not supposed to break the law and ask questions later, which is what's happening.
Yes. And are any of the tech companies reaching out to you all and saying, let's work together or help me solve this problem? Is there any substantial outreach or the beginning of conversations? And are they involving songwriters and musicians and RIAA, the Recording Academy? Are they trying to learn from Sound Exchange? What are you seeing?
Great question. There are several AI platforms that have been developed to work with musicians, with songwriters, to help them with the creative process, to allow them to use AI to push the boundaries of their art to create the expression they want to create. And there have been several licenses already by companies in the marketplace of types of AI services. So it is out there and it can be done. Another piece that people are working on, Marcia, is a tag to help identify an artist's work or a songwriter's work so that if it is used to train AI and they strip the metadata or they try to use it without permission, we can identify it and then go enforce our rights.
Well, that sounds great. I know that this is a really kind of a moving target. Getting it right is going to be important. We learned a lot of hard lessons as we moved from analog to digital transition, and you saw some of these distribution platforms that would lift music and then send it back out pop up, and artists were not being compensated. Songwriters weren't being compensated. So I know our audience is going to want to keep up with you. They're going to find you at Mitch_Glazier on Twitter. They'll also find you at RIAA.com. And always, you will find me on social media at Marsha Blackburn. Thanks so much for joining us today for Unmuted.
Thank you.